film is based on a poem by Walt Curtis. He's the author of Malanoche. Gus Van Sant did an adaptation of the film.
That's his first film. This is the film that made him famous.
Yeah. And you did, in 1997, a film on Walt Curtis.
A documentaire, 1 hour of him reading this film, Drunker Than a Skunk.
Okay. So, I haven't seen it. Can you talk to us about this film? Because I don't think there is a lot of people who know about it.
Right. We grew up in the same town. We went to the same school. But he is a legend in Oregon. He's the most famous poet in Oregon. And his poems are very similar to mine. They're very funny. They're very sexual. They're very surreal, outrageous. And that is what he is like. He is that kind of person.
So you recorded what we hear in Drunken in a Skunk at that time?
Well, we have a little story to tell about that, if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
Actually, I had just finished a film called Cheatin'. I finished drawing on it. And so now the production was in color and music and editing. So it was December, and I said, oh my gosh, Annecy is coming up. I need a film for Annecy. Because the deadline is in February, I believe. So I said, what can I do? I said, oh, I love that poem by Walt Curtis, Drunken as Skunk. So I started to draw the film, and I called Walt. I said, I want to come out and get your voice reading the poem. So we went to Portland, Oregon, and Sandrine can tell the rest of the story.
En fait, c'était très particulier parce que le premier rendez-vous qu'on a eu, donc moi j'étais là avec le calendrier de mois maintenant, et la rencontre a été très wow. Parce que c'est quelqu'un qui voit beaucoup malheureusement, et donc il se posait plein de questions sur ses droits d'auteur, et donc ils ont dû se bagarrer dès la première minute, donc c'était très très bizarre. Donc après on a signé le contrat sur une enveloppe, et on a de suite enregistré la voix, mais ça n'allait pas en plus qu'il pouvait en même temps qu'il enregistrait le poème, donc une rencontre très particulière, on va dire.
Donc, to work with a beatnik poet, it's
well, he's a traditional stereotype of a poet. He has no money. He lives in an apartment. Comme ça. It's a mess, disaster. He is very poor, and but he is full of life. And when he drinks all day long. And so it's a very a sad story, very tragic. But he's a brilliant poet. But this film was made very low cost. Ballpoint pen was the material. And the music was by Jonathan Rosen, who works in my studio. I had no money to pay him, so I gave him a guitar amplifier, because he's a musician. And I said, for the guitar amplifier, you will give me a song. He said, yeah! So it's a very low budget production. So I'm very happy to be selected for Annecy, because it's a little bit different than my usual film. It's more poetical, of course, and a little more experimental.
I would say that nobody was waiting you with the adaptation of a poem.
Yeah.
When I think Bill Plympton, I don't think poetry.
Well, you know, when I was a kid, starting to draw, I loved drawing cowboys. I just, Roy Rogers and Gene Autry, I loved cowboys. And so this was like going back to being a child again, drawing these crazy cowboys shooting guns. And so it's a very childish experience.
So 2 years ago you announced a new DVD with restored prints of Winsor McCay.
Yeah, it's just been released. It's called The Flying House. It's a feature-length film. In fact, Serge Bromberg was one of the producers of it. Is Serge still here? It shows the original flying house, and then my updating the flying house with voices, color, cleaning the old print, sound effects, and there's interviews with famous critics, Leonard Maltin and Jerry Beck, people like that. And also, I go to Windsor McKay's house. He lived in New York City, and I visited his house and went to his room where he did the flying house. So it's a very cool DVD. I think I have 2 copies in my suitcase if anybody's interested in it. Yeah. Bernard, you want one?
There is still one.
Yeah. If I could just for a moment, I am doing a work in progress of cheating on Friday morning at the Pierre Salomé. If you want to come see that, I will show some scenes from the film. And then also a big event is the Annecy Plus Friday night at the bar Cafe des Artistes.
So since you had this difficulty recording the poet, and you had a somewhat unintelligible voice track, did you make adjustments in the music and sound effect tracks in the mix to make it more intelligible?
Actually, I thought the sound was pretty good. I am not a professional sound recorder, so I used my iPhone. The room was small. I just put the iPhone up here, and he read it, I think 3 times. And the sound guy did balance the sound a little bit better, but I actually was surprised that the iPhone sounded so good. But also, I wanted it to feel real gritty. I wanted to feel real life. I didn't want to bring him into a sound studio and have him read, because he had his bottle of wine, he was drinking, and he was just like the drunk. I mean, he was slobbering everywhere, and so I wanted that reality. I wanted that fidelity to his character.
Bill Plympton, thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. Merci.